Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brick by Brick, the community podcast where we continue to build a strong community, one conversation at a time, brick by brick. I am your host, Brad Critchfield, and I have a very special guest for you tonight. Before we hop into the podcast, there were some audio issues with the live feed, so I'm actually recording this the day after. So this is today, but the podcast was last night. So anytime you change studios, you're going to have some issues, so it's a little bit of trial and error, but the podcast went on. It was a great conversation, and I'm still going to post it. I'm going to salvage the audio, and I hope you enjoy. If you do enjoy, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and also follow us on Facebook. We are going live 9 p.m. every week. This episode is brought to you our friends at Kidstown Indoor Playground. They are an amazing place for our littles. They're right off of Woodruff and Carson on the corner. I bring my girls there all the time. It's a safe, clean place to bring your kids. They have huge party rooms if you want to have a gathering, if you want to have fun. You can bring your own food. It's really great. That being said, without further ado, let's get to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brick by Brick, the community podcast, where we build a stronger community, one conversation at a time, brick by brick. I am your host, Brad Critchfield, and with me today, a very special guest, Miles Nevin. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I know it's a little bit late. It's a late podcast, but I appreciate you staying up. You got some coffee, ready to go.
Yep, I'm good to go.
So it's been a long day, right?
It has been a long day.
And I really do appreciate you coming in and talking today, because I know it's been a day, or probably more than that, of a lot of tough decisions, right?
Yep.
So why don't you just let people know who you are, what you do, and kind of what brings us here tonight?
Sure. Well, it has been a particularly long day for me. I decided today to not run for city council, and I made that announcement today. But I know we'll get to that. I am a 20-year Long Beach resident. I love this city. I came here to go to college at Cal State Long Beach, and I stayed on the east side for 20 years. Chose to be an educator as a result of my experience at Cal State Long Beach, getting involved in student government and clubs and community service on campus. And I've had a career in the city in education that's been really profound and rewarding for me. And I feel like this is my community, and I'm really connected here, and it's drawn me into various types of service. And after 20 years of doing this and that, I felt like it was my time to run for city council. That was the next step.
Yeah.
And I threw my hat in the ring. And I decided that about 6 weeks ago. I announced a couple weeks ago. And in that short time, I realized how difficult the venture was.
Yeah.
It was more difficult than I ever imagined. I was not able to do it while I worked.
Right.
It was overwhelming emotionally. And after much fretting, I decided to pull out. And so that's what brings me here today. And that's the decision I made this morning.
And one of the things I really appreciate about you being willing to have this conversation is running for public office is not easy. And I'm not saying people think it's easy, but sometimes it's hard to just fathom what a undertaking it really is, and how it really can pull you from all the other things that you have going on. So over the past 2 weeks, what is the thing that was the most surprising to you process-wise? Like the things that were demanded of you and your day-to-day?
In anything we do, we're not alone. We do that. We're part of a community. We're part of an office, organization, a workforce, whatever. This, it's all on you.
Yeah.
I hired a consultant. I had friends who were helping me who were in public office. I've been on campaigns as a volunteer. I've lobbied in Sacramento. But this was profoundly different. It was all on me every day. I woke up every day with a million things to do.
Yeah.
I still had a full-time job that I had to dedicate myself to. And I felt lonely. I felt like I was always behind. Mm-hmm. And that feeling of not being in control and of letting people down and kind of being behind the curve was too uncomfortable for me. And I couldn't manage it while I did my job. And a job that's changing, and I'm gaining responsibilities. Thank you. So it's just, kind of a confluence of things, but it was really that loneliness and the fact that as a candidate, it's you.
Yeah.
And only you.
And it's a marathon too. So it's not like it's going to go away next week, or it's a
9-month marathon.
And it's not, that's right. You're and
there's no baby at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a kid at the end, it'd be fine. But
and there's no guarantees, right? And there's a lot of resources, right? What do you think that like the typical city council race? What do you think you have to run? What was your aim?
So I was running in Long Beach's 3rd district. There's 9 districts. The 3rd district is the southeast side. It's the district where
it's like the Belmont area.
Belmont Shores, Naples, Belmont Heights, Rec Park, a couple other neighborhoods. More people vote there than any other district.
Really?
The electorate's engaged. They're high propensity voters. So it's a little bit more expensive. You have to be a little bit more on your feet. You're going to have to mail more households. So all those things were in front of me. Probably about $100,000 for the primary, and then another $50,000 to $75,000 for the general.
Wow.
So that was on me too, and weighing heavy on me.
That's a lot. So you have. I didn't know you had that much experience. So you were going to Sacramento. I know you explained to me at Cal State. I know you work with the nonprofit side of Cal State, but also a lot of in student government, right?
Right.
So was it kind of an interesting, almost experiment, kind of like getting in there firsthand, or do you feel like you already had so much experience being around it for so long? It wasn't that new. It was just the new emotional toll that was like really, a newer experience.
It's a little bit of all of the above. I mean, I'm on a college campus where we teach civic engagement, and we work with student government leaders, and we advise them. And they certainly are a government, and they're passing resolutions and legislation and all those things. But it's theoretical. Like when you get into the practice, it was just so much different.
So personal, right?
It is very personal.
Like, I mean, even so, one thing I'm not a big fan of when it comes to politics, the endorsements side of things.
I don't like that either.
It's like asking a bunch of people, "Will you date me?" It's just like will you put your name on me? Like, it gets some people, their endorsements, like it's a huge deal.
It is.
And then some people just throw it around like nothing. So it's just like constantly navigating the endorsement side of things can get very taxing and really calls into question a lot of like relationships. Like, wait, was this a personal friendship? Was this more of to the point of it can just be a lot emotionally. I'm sure that doesn't help that side of things.
Well, you probably had this experience too, but one of the things that people told me going in that was absolutely true is that you're going to realize who your friends are.
Yeah.
And there's folks that haven't returned my phone calls or text messages that I thought would be my number one day one support.
Call them out. They're out there. Cut them, just
kidding. So that happened. Yes, it's hard to get those. You have to get them because you have to demonstrate to the electorate that you have support from elected officials, community members, neighbors, right?
Yeah, but something I did like about running it, and I think it was a double-edged sword, is you're constantly in a state of introspection. Like, not only how your relationships are with other people, but your relationship with yourself and what it is you really want, what are you willing to sacrifice, and where are you going? And I think that's kind of what happened, right? Because you and again, congratulations. So you got a promotion at Cal State.
Yes. I mean, we're in the midst of making changes on campus. So we have this unique model on the Cal State campuses. There's 23 campuses across the state, and there's these auxiliary organizations, and they're nonprofit corporations that manage the things that are revenue generating or commercial by nature or autonomous by nature. So the student government corporation, which is owned and operated by students, is the student union, the child care centers, and the rec centers. But the campus stores, sometimes housing, all the things that kind of make money. Okay. Those are organized as nonprofit corporations, and we're looking right now at Cal State Long Beach at all of those on campus and how they can better work together. And I'm intimately involved in leading that process to kind of re-envision that. And
across multiple Cal States?
It's just on our campus, but we have multiple of those auxiliaries.
Okay.
And so it requires my full attention, and there are other people involved, and so it's a team effort. So that is my focus and needs to be, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
And that was certainly part of my calculation is, I have this awesome opportunity over here to maybe go serve on the city council after all these other things I've done. But at what expense? And ultimately I decided it wasn't, my heart wasn't in it enough.
Yeah. When did you decide that? Like, was there a moment?
I was, I'll be very honest with you because, we need to be. I didn't enjoy the campaigning part of any of this. I love the city so much. I love government. I believe in it. I believe it can and does work for the people. But you have to campaign in order to become elected. And the campaigning part just didn't work for me.
Which part? Like, which part of the campaign?
The fact that it's a full-time job. So, I have a full-time job. And not all elections are the same, right? Not to diminish any office, but for city council in Long Beach, it is a full-time job to campaign and get elected.
Yeah.
And I have a full-time job. I didn't find that I could do both. I have so much more respect and appreciation for those who have done it and are doing it right now. And I mean that because they are making sacrifices that I wasn't able to make. Perhaps they have more time, or perhaps they're putting in their own money.
But you do know, like, you're able to, but it's choice. The timing isn't right? Like, because you have other things where, do you think you'll never run again? Or is that off the table?
I don't know that. I mean, I might.
But it definitely doesn't sound appealing right now.
I mean, I have a long road of further introspection in front of me.
Okay.
To figure out kind of what happened and what's next. But for now, I'm focused on my career, and I am the chair of the airport commission, which I love. Okay. I would have had to give that up if I got elected. And I
council. I mean, like you said, like that could be a full-time. I mean, just running is full-time, and then when you have a full-time job, it's like, okay, so to keep my integrity as a employee, am I making calls on the clock? Hopefully not, but you really can't not. Are you taking a bunch of time off?
Right.
Are you, just going to campaign after 5 o'clock? Do you really have a chance to win if you're only doing a few hours a day? Right. That can get very, very taxing. So what were you doing the past couple of weeks with the campaign where you were kind of putting your hands in the dirt?
I feel like you were in my head because the things you just said are the things I was doing. Right? The daily call time, fundraising, reaching out to organizations and lining up endorsements, having more than
lunches,
coffees.
Yeah.
Every
having
day.
Those weird conversations where they know why you're like asking them to lunch, and then but they pretend like you're just it can get fun.
Yeah. So it's just the work conflict. Mm-hmm. It was all there. So it's a lot of work, So I just advise anyone listening that know what it takes and know what your limitations are at your job or what other commute you have. I'm single. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I mean, I can't imagine having those responsibilities because it's even more important than a job.
Yeah, no, it's easy. Just let your partner do all the work and you just do it.
You have it all figured out.
Lucky for me, when I ran, my wife was very supportive. And, my kids are like totally cute and adorable. So I'm like, hey, vote for me. I have a cute kid.
That helps.
Yeah.
I'll have to borrow them.
Yeah. Well, I didn't win, so they'll only get cuter. So what would, that was actually my next question. Like, what would your advice be to folks that are, even thinking about running in the future? Like, from what you've gathered from your experience, like, what would you think is a piece of advice that maybe isn't as common? Like the not the bad side. I don't want to be negative about it, but like the hard truth.
Well, I think the piece of advice I got the most, which is fair, is make sure your heart's in it. Make sure you know your why and you're doing it for the right reasons. And I got that a lot, and I'm comfortable with that. I was doing it for the right reasons. My heart was in it, but I think what I would say in response to your question is listen to the people you trust. Love the dish.
When you're really crafting your campaign and what it is you're running on, what's something that, like, what was on the top of your list of like the thing that you really were going to focus on, something that's very passionate for you?
So early on, I was struggling with this because I felt like I needed something flashy, like a big idea.
Yeah, that's tough, right? I feel.
What's my big idea?
Yeah, okay.
But I don't have one, and really, what it comes down to is, these positions should be about core issues.
Yeah.
This should be about wanting to serve the people. And
Right.
It shouldn't be about yourself. It shouldn't be about something flashy. It should be about the core issues. And so I got rid of that in my head, and that helped. And it's about, prioritizing public safety and advocating for our police officers, and so on, because they are our partners in public safety.
Right.
It's revitalizing our infrastructure. And in a district like that, that's so important for neighborhoods and for economic development and tourism.
Right.
Just basic environmental protection. It's really, don't get into that flashy stuff.
Yeah.
That would be another piece of advice, is just focus on what you can do for the people as a representative who's, maybe not so ego-centered.
Yeah. So I want to say, seriously, thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Because I really feel like shedding some light on how difficult it can be to run a campaign. Not only is it just good for people to know, because I think it humanizes those that do run and lead, but it also can motivate people to be more supportive and contribute and volunteer and engage, right? And that's what I would hope, that people, even if they're not the candidate, when you know that it is a huge task and you really do need the support of your friends and your family and your community. If people really want change, you got to get out there and do it. And you can't just expect somebody else to do it for you, even if they are the candidate. So I appreciate you coming on. And thanks for staying up past the bedtime.
It's all good. Yeah, I'm an old man these days, but I have my coffee.
And I have my apple juice. Miles, thank you. Thank you guys for watching another episode of Brick by Brick. Keep the conversations going, keep engaging your community, and keep building up your community one brick at a time. Have a good night. And we're out. We're bugging up after the second one back.
Yeah, just figuring it out.
Yeah.